Hey everybody, this is Talkative Carl back again for a video game spoiler review. Marvel's Spider-Man 2. Just wrapped up the game last night, which you should see all 15 videos of that up on my YouTube channel, youtube.com/talkativecarl. Oh man. By the way, follow me on links in the description below. youtube.com/talkativecarl. Follow me here on Twitch, twitch.tv/talkativecarl. You can check out my Patreon, www.patreon.com/talkativecarl. Follow me on Twitter @talkativecarl. My Instagram. All links are in the description below. If you're watching this on YouTube, or on the side if you're watching this live on Twitch. And this game is honestly phenomenal, which I had no doubt. It's been a long time in the waiting, and I am surprised that there was no immediate DLC for this game. Not that that's the con of this game. It's just that in the previous Spider-Man games, Miles Morales and Peter Parker's solo stuff, there was like pre-order DLC, because they do have like a pre-order thing here, but you get like a extra skill points and extra costumes, which by the way, a few of those extra costumes is kind of like whatever, never really put them on, but that's really not too much of a big deal anyway. But so far as like the gameplay is incredible. Ironically, I died a few times as Peter Parker, but almost never, I don't think I died ever with Miles Morales. And but it's just fun because like each one of those, these characters have their own unique thing. Or Peter, utilize his gadgets most of the time, but that's kind of shared with, well, some of it is shared with Miles, but for the most part, Peter relies on certain gadgets to get over certain things, which is pretty dope. Each Spider-Man variant has to have their own unique thing that's tangentially tied for them. Like Miles has his Venom Blast and his camouflage mode, which I almost keep forgetting to use the doggone camouflage mode. But I like they kind of upgraded Miles's powers to this from yellow lightning to blue lightning after getting entangled with the with Mr. Negative, Martin Lee, which I kind of glad they kind of carried on that what happened with that from the first game into this game. There's still some ill wills that left unresolved. So here's my bit of negatives. I just want to get those out the way. In terms of side quests, those unidentified target trying to catch those metal birds, those were slightly annoying, because it's cool you use like the web glide things, which is fine and all, but sometimes it gets kind of cumbersome to try to figure out the aerodynamics to get over certain spaces, in the right way. I keep bumping into stuff or losing my way, and it took me almost 2 or 3 tries in order to get certain birds. Well, I eventually done it because I wanted 100% this game so badly, which I did, because as I mentioned a few times in my walkthrough. The first Spider-Man game, Miles Morales, Darksiders 2, Ghost of Tsushima, is like the and this game is like the only games that I can recall that I've 100%ed before. Because those games are just that freaking good, and is those games that actually has side quests that are so good they don't feel padded. Well, the whole screwball thing's still like freaking annoying, but I still did it. But besides that, the side quest stuff feeds so well into the main story. I think that should be like the standard when it comes to side quests. It has to feed into the narrative at least somewhat, so it doesn't feel like padded out busy work like you see from like the Assassin's Creed games. I use that as like the primary example, that because I was excited for Assassin's Creed Valhalla, because only play Black Flag in Valhalla, and the side quests in those games are just busy work. Chase these people down or follow this person, that kind of thing. It's just like it left something, it felt boring, and I could just I shouldn't feel like I gotta just skip this. I don't care. Like, I should not feel like I should not care about the side quests. I want to be engaged, because the mark of a great game, in my opinion, is that even though you can love the main story, the side quests and the DLCs are so good that you can feel obliged to set the main story aside so you can try to focus on getting this other stuff done because you're so into it. But yeah, those identified birds, those are kind of annoying. Now, in the previous game, the whole Mary Jane, Miles, push things over and try to get around certain bad guys. In previous games, those were kind of annoying, but they, the developers realized this, so they kind of upped it here, where now that when you playing as you still have the Mary Jane missions, but here she actually doing a whole lot more. Is actually the step up here. Now I'm a little torn because I can still done without it. I don't think anybody would have missed it, but other people have pointed out that this is not just like a Miles and Peter type of story. There's 3 protags here: Peter, Mary Jane, and Miles. These 3 are the primary focus of this large narrative here, and so that's why they felt it prudent, obviously, to step up the Mary Jane missions, where now you got this, because the whole thing with in the Miles game where she and Peter went off to Symkaria, because that, I'm glad they kind of interwoven what happened in some of the stuff in Miles's game into this story, where like, yeah, I met up with Silver Sable, she taught me a few moves, even though it was like, I don't know, it's like you get taught by Silver Sable. I don't expect Mary Jane to be Black Widow or anything like that, but you learn a couple of takedowns and you kind of feel like, yeah, I don't know, like, do some Krav Maga or something. You do simple takedowns. It's kind of like, okay, not that I'm like, poo-pooing over that, but I'm just saying, it's like she's a highly skilled mercenary. You could have taught her an advanced, some advanced, like focus on one particular martial art, like Krav Maga, for example, and just hyper focus on that so she can take on, your, some good amount of thugs here if she, felt threatened. But you get this, you know, uh, uh, this kind of stun gun that gets upgraded over time, where now she can actually run, and she's doing some freaking Call of Duty type of stuff, and it's like, shooting web blasts and eventually sonic blasts in order to take down people. So, and also, unlike in the previous game where it's like you get busted, it's like, oh, don't do it. No, now you just like, she takes, hits like a champ, and you can just shoot back. It doesn't end the mission entirely. So huge step up from that one. Where in the previous games that would have been like a con. What else? Mention about the web wings thing. They took out because I take pictures of certain areas. There's not in those. I didn't play around with the photo mode all too much, but from what I heard, they took out the selfie feature, which is still kind of lame. But there's the costumes here. In the previous game, the costumes had like a unique thing to it, like you use Hobby Brown Spider-Punk, you get this guitar thing where you blast a electrical radius to push people back. Or in Spider-Man Noir, like, I freaking love that one because it's straight up from the Spider-Verse movies. You don't turn things black and white and silent, and it's like, I personally think that's kind of a con, because those things were, I guess, you end up being way too much for the game itself. But that was like a fun feature that really, aside from the cool costumes, they are already cool, but you added something more by giving them some unique things to it. Like, I've seen people making videos of altering the color contrast so everything to look black and white while you're playing that Spider-Man Noir. It's like, I don't want to have to jury rig the color contrast in order to get the black and white look while I'm playing like the Spider-Man Noir outfit. It's like, I feel like, man, that's like a bit of a con in my opinion, because I want these gimmicks into the costumes. So there's a bit of a con to me personally wise. I'm not sure how anybody else feels about that, but that was a fun feature. Miles is pretty dope, but somebody pointed out, which I kind of agree, because somebody else pointed out a photo of the development team. While in the Miles game, you can tell there's like, honest to goodness, like, black Latino developers involved in the making of the Miles Morales game, because it felt very true to the black and Hispanic culture. While in this game, it's very multi, culture faceted, group of people, like the Burger King Kids Club, basically, where it's like, it's not like it's not unheard of for a company to have, like, every race under the sun. I'm just saying that, somebody pointed out, which I'm not even sure, like, I wholly agree it being a problem, but I can understand where they're coming from, where the development of Miles here feels like, somebody, like a few writers taking part in the design and feel of Miles. Maybe not like wholly white people, but it's just like a few white people on the team offering some input on the design and stuff on Miles. And it's like, I don't know, it's just like they trying way too hard and try to make him like, I don't even know how they put it, but they try to play too hard to make him cool or something like that in this game. But it's not necessarily a problem to me, but what I do notice that they took, well, in the Miles solo game, it felt organic when dealing with like, you know, like gentrification and knowing his roots and everything like that here in that game. But this game, it feels like they're leaning way too hard into the like for most of Miles' mission, especially the whole bebop music situation where, you know, Miles had to find out who's stealing all these musical artifacts and everything like that. And I thought it was cool. You learn a bit about like the Black Renaissance when you go to that museum, which is pretty dope. But it's like most of Miles's like stuff is geared towards very like, mostly, not everything, but it's like geared towards like they weigh all the cultural diversity and struggles right on Miles' shoulders solely. And it's like, you know, it's fine here and there, but it's just like, it's like, you know, what we did with Blade. Blade is a black character, sure, but you know, he doesn't necessarily need, when you're telling a story of Blade, you don't necessarily need to like hyper focus on the black struggle or anything like that. You know, you can tell like just a decent superhero story while getting bogged down about like the real life struggles of somebody of color or gentrification or anything like that. You kind of want, when you get into like, you know, comics or video games or go to a movie, you don't necessarily need to fall onto that. Not necessarily, you can't like, you know, every once in a while deal with something like that, because that's real world stuff, and sometimes you can tell, because, you know, comics, movies, well, especially comics, do bring up real life, you know, stuff like politics and, you know, definitely like politics. Ever since like the 40s, dealing with like WW2 and everything like that, they had those kind of things in it, so you can tell those kind of stories. But just like with any other superhero, you gotta just, you know, deal with like just superhero stuff, and he, you know, fights crime and, you know, stop muggings and stuff, being a friendly neighborhood Spider-Man. But yeah, I do feel like, okay, they kind of lean way too hard into that stuff, because Miles doesn't need to have to focus on that all the time. He can just, you know, stop your common criminal without getting into racial struggles or talk about racial struggles or anything like that. But like I said, it's very cool to like, you know, dive into the whole Black Renaissance thing. I think that's pretty dope. Okay. And I think the whole, somebody pointed out about at the last costume Miles get is some kind of Adidas endorsement type of situation. I think that's kind of lame. I didn't even notice that until somebody pointed it out, and I was like, oh my god, no. But also the Miles's hairstyle with the locks, how long was this in story, how long was from Miles's adventure dealing with like the Tinkerer and everything like that, up until this game dealing with Kraven the Hunter, where he had time to grow his hair and fix it up to be locks or anything like that. You know what, like maybe a year or two, 2 at the most. But I don't know, like I pointed out earlier, I think they did try to work way too hard to try to make him so cool looking, and he's already cool. Some of a few of Miles's outfits, you know, feel lackluster. I shouldn't have to wait too, you know, so long to get the Carnage outfit that he had, or the Null outfit that he had, but that was like the last thing they gave us for him. It's like, oh god, I wanted to play the Carnage suit for a hot minute, but the game's almost over anyway. Like I said, I'm still waiting for the freaking DLC. They should have at least one at the ready so we can hop right into it, because most people finish this game in like a couple of days. you know, I had other stuff to deal with, so I couldn't put too much time into it. But I try to make each video as long as possible so I can, you know, do as much as I can with the side missions and everything else. Also, I haven't gotten to the story yet, but I want to cover like all the other, you know, the gameplay and the, you know, things I did not like and get them out the way. I love the collectible stuff. I think that's a cool Spider-Verse Across the Spider-Verse cameo here. I think set before the events of Across the Spider-Verse, where you see PS4 or PS5 Spider-Man in the film getting involved into the Spider-Verse thing. Here you see how I guess supposed to set up where, you know, you collect all these spider bots and you go to this little just like in the movie, this little warp gate thing, and you see this Delilah girl. I don't even know who the heck she is. She might be a different Spider Woman, but I don't know. I thought maybe she's some kind of Madam Web type woman, maybe because of the glasses. I'm not sure, but I don't know. It would have been cool to had shown Miguel O'Hara or something like that. I don't know, but it's really dope. I did not know this. Yuri Lowenthal, who voiced Insomniac Peter Parker, he is married to the voice actress of Yuri Watanabe, who plays Wraith now, very like Punisher-esque type of woman. You know, the voice actress is married to Yuri Lowenthal. I thought that was pretty dope. So when these two have interactions, the chemistry is like off the charts, obviously, because these two are freaking married in real life. So I thought that was pretty dope. But you know, she's tangling with like the Flame, being led by, you know, these operating under 3 different aliases, one of them being Cletus Cassidy. I don't know why they just lean into Cletus Cassidy in the first place and stop with a subterfuge, but no, I thought that was a very, you know, he doesn't behave like the, you know, 90s TV show version or comic version of Cletus Cassidy. He's doing some kind of cult like, you know, Charles Manson type of dude here, which is fine. It leads into a nice surprise in the end. It turns out he is a Cletus Cassidy, you know, variant, I guess. And he was like, oh, okay, maybe one of the DLCs will be, I think that should have been set up, but I guess that would have been a spoiler. But like, you know, hopefully we don't, my friend told me like, hopefully we don't have to wait 6 months for a possible DLC. They should be working on it as we speak, maybe, that at the very least we should find out about a DLC possibly next month, hopefully, because we haven't really resolved the whole situation with Wraith dealing with the Flame and how that is, you know, what's that's gonna spin into. That will be pretty dope. I kind of wish they, you know, hinted at, because Yuri really, it's like going, it's like, as I mentioned, like, wow, she is kind of like a Punisher, you know, mindset right now. I kind of wish they kind of like set up some kind of dialogue where she met up with Frank Castle or something like that, and, you know, learn all she can about how to you know, track and deal with the criminal element and everything like that, and adopted that kind of ideology, and that enhances the clash she has with Peter and why she's so angry and everything like that. And like the Frank kind of, you know, add fuel to the fire, as so to say, to Yuri's anger towards the criminal element and how they just constantly get away with stuff. Speaking of cameos, when, you know, Miles teams up with Black Cat to save her from Kraven's men, she steals like the wand of Watum out of Doctor Strange's place, and you see her like, haphazardly open up, the Doctor Strange portals, the portals, and it's very dope just to like web through these things and utilize the team up with Miles and Black Cat with taking down these hunters and going through all these portals and dealing with all that in very cool ways. Very dope. But then you see like a note magically appear in Miles's hand from Wong. It's like, me and the Doc was out, thanks for returning this to us, we owe you one, and it vanishes in his hand. I think that was pretty dope, which I think Insomniac, since they're working on a Wolverine game, I think they should do like a Black Panther game and a Doctor Strange game in the future, because we still got the Chadwick Boseman Street on the corner of the Wakandan embassy, and you get to actually do the Wakanda Forever salute there with Miles. I don't know if you can do that with Peter. Never even tried that, but I think that was like a very, very very cool. They still kept that, from like 2 games ago. I think that's very cool. You also see like the Baxter building, the Fantastic Four #4 at the top, still being painted. It's like almost finished, so it's like they're about to move in, so it kind of explains why they're kind of not there. But you still got the Avengers Tower and everything like that, Doctor Strange's Sanctum Sanctorum, the Nelson and Murdoch place. I haven't even seen like Rand Industries, the Danny Rand Industries. But while you're in Harlem, I probably should have checked and see if there was like a Heroes for Hire place for Luke Cage and Danny Rand. But cool little Easter eggs, probably sprayed all over the place that isn't so obvious to the naked eye, but I'm pretty sure there's going to be videos in the future of everybody just listing all the things that's there you probably missed in the game, blah blah blah. I'm pretty sure Watch Mojo will probably be the ones to do that. What else before I go into the story? The voice acting is incredible. Everybody's doing like a bang up job. They kind of killed off a few of Spider-Man's villains, so it's very little that you can get from, like, because this obviously going to be like a third and final game of, they kind of hinted at the end, it's going to probably be like a third and final game for something like Spider-Man, which I imagine won't come out until, by the time they work on it and finish it, or about to finish it, we'll probably be working on like a PS6 system by that point, because the Peter Parker game didn't come out until around the time the PS4 was about to drop, and when Miles Morales came about, the PS5 was already about to drop. So yeah, since they're working on Wolverine, and I'm pretty sure by the time the Game Awards come out next month, there will be like an announcement about that game, which I'm super excited for, because we haven't heard anything for a good 2 years at this point, almost going on 3. I understand. I guess they need to make sure Spider-Man has his moment to shine without getting kind of overshadowed with whole Wolverine speculations and stuff like that. Which I still believe this game will get Game of the Year, no freaking doubt. I already given this like kind of like a 9.5 out of 10 right now. It's very darn near a perfect freaking game. So I'm not sure like how much villains we're going to be introducing in the final game, where most of them are dead at this point. Oh, and there's a Mysterio thing. I like what they did with Mysterio here, because it's like, 2 villains get reformed in this game, which will be Martin Lee and Mysterio, which I think that was a very dope thing to do, because because Peter Parker been at this for such a long time. You say he's 25. I mean, it's like, dude, you're at least 30. Hell, Miles look like he's 23. So I call cap on that, which, you know, be kind of freaking funny and super ironic, because they, during the first Spider-Man game remastered, they reworked Peter Parker's face, which nobody thought that was freaking necessary. But when they do like a remaster of this game, which will be inevitable, it'd be ironic if they redone Peter's face once again for no inexplicable reason. Now that people just pretty much got used to the face now. Oh, and Mary J, and there's a lot of people complain about Mary J here, where they see certain employees of the development team of Insomniac. There's like a few of them that look like a spot-on Mary Jane Watson, and the one they chose, the actress that they chose instead, people complain about like her look. She doesn't look like your typical Mary Jane, which I make a comment a couple of times where, you know, this Mary Jane kind of looks like, you know, Drew Barrymore does right now. And Drew Barrymore is very beautiful, mind you, but I'm just saying, it's like, you don't have to go with the whole supermodel Mary Jane, but I don't know. No shade on the actress, but she does kind of look slack-jawed a little bit. With the cheeks is probably like what's throwing me. It's not too much of a big deal. I have noticed that, because other people point out they kind of ugged her up a bit. I don't think that she's ugly, but you know, if you have like, you know, I mean, you don't need like I said, you don't need a supermodel, pitch perfect looking, you know, perfect 9. I won't say perfect 9, but like a 9 rating type of face. But it's just like, I don't know, you totally went with a 6, and it's like, you know, you could have just make it even and make put like a 7 there. I don't know. It's just, you know, it's not a too much big deal, but I have noticed it. Like I said, she kind of looks more like Drew Barrymore to me. I was like, they got Drew Barrymore for this. But the voice actors did a great job. Anyway, let's get on to like the main story. Now, Sandman is like, you know, causing a ruckus in the middle downtown, and Peter and Miles work together to, you know, stop him. Like, you know, throwing like, which there's certain moments it kind of feels like they took inspiration from Spider-Man Shattered Dimensions and Ultimate Spider-Man. If you remember from Shattered Dimensions, when 616 Peter Parker deals with Sandman, he throws all these water bells at him to solidify him so he can actually beat him up. And they kind of do something similar to that. Why, you know, but you got, you know, the help of Miles' electricity, which they learned to utilize very effectively in this game to make it like useful outside of combat. But you solidify his body in order to neutralize him, but which leaves all these memory crystals where, you know, you assemble them and you find out about there's people following Sandman and try to capture him. They even try to go after his daughter at one point, which you think is like a little girl, but she seems like a freaking, you know, late teens, early 20s type of chick. But it was like a dope moment where it's like, oh, things getting serious, because we obviously seen like you know, the premise where Kraven the Hunter is coming to New York to hunt down Spider-Man and a bunch of the villains that he fight, because it's like a large game preserve for him. And like I seen, like, you know, certain old images where it's like, profiles pop up along the map of the city, and a few of them looks like Taskmaster and Mysterio. It's just like a bunch of villains, and it's like, man, I was kind of expecting, like, okay, like, you know, Peter has to track down and save all of his rogues gallery from this crazed hunter who's trying to capture them all, and possibly like work with them, or at the very least try to keep them safe while dealing with this hunter. Which, come to think of it, now that Marvel acquires the Predator, they could make a Predator. They're doing one with Predator versus Wolverine, but they could also do one with Kraven very easily, hunter versus a hunter. But you can also do one with Predator versus Spider-Man, where he's trying to, well, I don't think it's probably a good idea now. I'm thinking about it, where it's like, you know, how you gonna have the Predator, you know, rip out the spine of the Scorpion or something. That'd be kind of, you know, wild. Even though it's kind of like an Elseworld type of feel, it still wouldn't, even when done Batman versus Predator, which is like a comic that I reviewed, by the way, you can check it out on the channel. They even didn't have the Predator kill off any of his main rogues gallery at all. Even though that was an Elseworld story, none of his bad guys, typical bad guys, got, you know, dismembered. It's very like new rando people that you expect to be cannon fodder, so you can actually see Predator kills. I don't think it probably will work in this context. But anyway, so you don't see like all the rogues gallery, but a few of them did get captured, and a couple of them did get killed. Like, they even tried to like stop breaking at the raft by these hunters, where they, take Scorpion and Martin Lee and Vulture and Electro. I think I didn't see, like, because there's images of Electro stuff in like a hunter hideout, where you see, whiteboards and tables and all this stuff of the hunters figuring out how to neutralize each of these villains in particular ways. And studying them and everything like that. And I don't know, you see Scorpion get murdered by Kraven, but I don't know, you don't see, Vulture. It's obviously hinted at that Vulture and Electro got murked too, but we don't see it. I kind of wish we kind of did, so we can add more weight to it. And of course Miles is kind of tripping because he still is angry with Martin Lee for murdering his father, and I feel like that's still kind of a holder. That's still like a hang up of his. But one second here. That's still a bit of like a hang up of his. Because he doesn't want to kill him, even though part of him probably wishes he could. He still want to bring him to justice. And this whole thing with unresolved issues with these three main characters, Pete, Miles, and Mary Jane, which we'll find out later. So we also finally get Harry Osborn, and the mocap look to the character actor is, if you ever watch Ben 10, even though Yuri Lowenthal voices Ben 10, the physical appearance of Harry Osborn is mocked up by the actor who played Ben in the first live action Ben 10 short movie. He's like all grown up, I guess. A little known fact. So like 2 Ben 10 actors involved into the Spider-Man game is very dope. And he's all seemingly better now, because if you know from the previous film, he was sick, and obviously it was the Venom suit that's keeping him healthy. So they all end up on Coney Island. They're supposed to meet up with Miles. He dealt with Mysterio's little thingamabob, where it leads to like side quests, you know, dealing with each of these malfunctioning Mysterio machines, which turns out to be the fault of Mysterio's side partners, who was trying to put the blame on him so that way they can reap all the profits. Well, because they're using those things to look at people's like bank codes and credit card numbers and all that other stuff to get rich. But you see, like, you know, Mysterio is actually truly reformed, and he leaves like Miles like a little words of wisdom. I forget what he said, but you can easily look it up. But I think it's like very dope that that did happen. That's pretty dope. But you see these 3 people hanging out, and the hunters come to try to kidnap Tombstone, who's also reformed and working as a because he's mechanic skills. He fixes go-karts at the Coney Island Fair, and he gets captured, but we come to realize Harry Osborn in like a Agent Venom type of feel, because we don't get Eddie Brock in this, which, you know, at first like I kind of bugged out about, because I don't know, Eddie Brock is Venom, you know, he's the true Venom. But you know, you know, you can always tell like different iterations of certain stories, and you can by and large make it work. So Harry helps Peter in order to save a roller coaster full of people. Gave me very Final Destination vibes, PTSD on that one. But now they team up after they realize who each other are. Now they team up to track down Tombstone and rescue him. You know what? I want to take a moment to bring up that after Peter sees Martin Lee, you know, kind of fully reformed thanks to Miles, he made his comment about like, "Well, that never happened. I never managed to reform any of my bad guys." 2 of them are reformed: Tombstone and Mysterio. What are you talking about? Then you realize that Doc Connors found this, you know, alien rock thing that fell to Earth, typical in like a symbiote story, and that's how he lost his arm, not from like an accident in the army, which is typical in the backstory of Dr. Kirk Connors, where he's like a medical officer, lost his arm there. Here is because this thing he was about to grab, which you think he probably, you know, use some kind of tools and not just touch it with his freaking bare hands, because, you know, no, you know, true scientist will just touch an foreign alien object, not knowing what kind of diseases it might be holding. And so the symbiote inside ensnares him, and the officers there had to shoot off his arm. Which eventually leads into a whole lizard situation. Even though that should have occurred, him being the lizard should have occurred around the time when Peter was still like a teenager. Oh, speaking of which, you get a cool moments in like a bit of flashbacks playing as Peter in his early years as Spider-Man, and he sees Peter trying to give Spider-Man pics to the Bugle, and because he goes reminiscing when he meets up with this other photographer lady wearing a hijab, and she wants to be just like Peter Parker, making all these cool who done all these cool pictures for Spider-Man in the past. And Peter reminisces on how like he was running late at the Bugle trying to deliver his first pictures of Spider-Man, and he sees a guy getting mugged, and he's fighting these guys very acrobatically and not, I get it, he was a dumb kid and not experienced as he is now, but it's like you still wouldn't want to show off too much, because like people gonna start questioning how's the kids jumping around like a rabbit out of hell. I thought, like, wow, that's really irresponsible and stupid as hell. And luckily nobody freaking called him on it or something, because you're moving like Spider-Man, and I'm pretty sure Spider-Man's been barely seen for quite a few months at this point in time. Really dumb. Anyway, what was it? So after they know each other, Harry's been wanting to bring Peter on to this project that he's been planning in the name of his mom, and you see all these cool stuff which leads into the EMF location type of things, where you see how they can heal the world by utilizing science in order to help bees to pollinate and neutralize any threats to the bees, because bees are running scarce. And then eco-friendly bikes and all this other stuff. And they named it like the Emily May Foundation, named after Harry's mom and Peter's aunt. And this is coincidentally after Peter lost his teaching job, which listen, which obviously this is going to lead into the whole Parker Industries thing, because Peter's going to carry this on. I think because people like from people who read comics too that I follow, most of them like the whole Peter being like they think it's better progressing for Peter being like a science teacher. And I'm like, yeah, here's the problem. He will always want to go out to be Spider-Man because he feels like it's his responsibility to go out there, despite him having Miles or knowing the Avengers or anything like that. He still want to do his part, and it's very hard to do, to just dip out in the middle of class in order to do that, which right from the beginning, right his first day of work, and he has to dip out with Miles in order to deal with Sandman. And I think it's like, okay, that's kind of like a not ideal place to work, which is luckily is very coincidental. His friend have you got a rich friend that could help out with the science thing, which I think is also kind of cool, because people pointing out that Harry and this is also smart too. So, and not just like a rich kid that it's like a rich playboy kid. He's actually got a bit of brains, which in the Sam Raimi movies you don't see that with that Harry Osborn. You see that a little bit in the Mark Webb version of Spider-Man. With that Harry Osborn, he actually have some business acclimates, and it knows a few bit about science as well. uh so yeah, I think this is probably like arguably the best interpretation of Harry Osborn that we've seen in quite some time. It's even in the comics. It's like, it's even better than even in the comics, where Harry Osborn is smart in his own right. I don't think that's utilized all that well in other forms of medium. Um, so, uh, when Kraven eventually kidnaps Kirk Connors because he's trying to force him to be the Lizard, as Mary Jane's following the situation, she tries to get Connors out, but gets busted. But then Miles and Peter shows up. Oh no, not Miles and Peter. Harry and Peter show up, try to take on Kraven, but Kraven gets the upper hand and stabs Peter in the abdomen, and Peter's lying there, literally about to die, but it's Harry's decided to, I'm not sure if it was him or just a symbiote just by its own agency, it's because like, hey, my my host needs me, so he wants me to help his friend because that's part on top of Harry's mind. He wants to save his friend, so the symbiote gravitates towards Peter, even though it seems kind of hostile at first. But it latches on to Peter and kills him and takes the broken blade out of his abdomen later. But since Connor's gone and Peter and Harry's sickness is returning, even though like the symbiote should be just automatically neutralizing any diseases or anything that might be hurting its host automatically, and somehow it just comes back after it gets off of him, because like Peter gets stabbed in the abdomen, his wound don't just reattach itself. Opens back up again because the symbiote is off of him. Hell, like even when like Peter gets seriously hurt in one moment, the symbiote, his arm is seemingly broken, and it kind of snaps back in place and heals. So it's like you can't tell me like the symbiote didn't cure wherever. You never even hear what was afflicting Harry at all. It's like, does he have cancer or something? They make it seem like it's on that level of disease, but we never give a concrete answer to what he has. But now it's slowly starting to return, and we now with this suit, Peter is out there searching for Connors and Kraven in order to synthesize an antidote and give it to him, so that way we can get Connors back, so he can figure out a way to help Harry. But throughout this time, I think it's a great acting from Yuri Lowenthal, because you see him like getting a little more agitated, and more annoyed and angry, because the symbiotes feed off your fear and aggression, and your insecurities, and heightens them to insane levels. And you hear in Peter's voice when like he feels like Miles screwed up when trying to capture the Lizard, and it's kind of like the symbiotes are like drugs, when it's like it's only for too long, you eventually need it, like you need the air to breathe at a certain point, and the longer it's bonded to you, then once, if eventually comes off of you, you will probably end up dying, because now it's just like ripping out most of your cells, because it's bonded to your cells after a certain point, and once torn away, then you're slowly starting to like decease yourself, unless reattached to it quickly. But and you see like when every time like we see like the progression of the suit, it gets a little more tenser and jaggedier in the texture of the suit. I think it's very cool design choice. Every time like Peter, just the longer he has it on, the more frustrated he gets and the more like aggressive the suit looks. I think that is a very cool design. And of course, it's kind of reminds me of in Smallville, where the red kryptonite gets anywhere near Clark, he's starting to act like all his personal feelings that he kind of keep to himself, or it's like what he really thinks. It's like that he kind of like, because he's mature and it's like reasonable, rational adult that knows social cues and stuff like that. It's like somebody drunk and you say what you really think. It's kind of like that. No inhibitions, and all the stuff he might feel, but it's tempered by his virtues, or and admiration. It's just all that is just gone out the window. And once he's finally gonna take on Kraven, because we get this moment, it's very reminiscent to the Spectacular Spider-Man, or at least many interpretations of this moment, where especially in Spectacular Spider-Man TV show, where Peter is literally asleep, but the hunters show up, and while asleep, the suit takes over and starts fighting all these hunters by itself, unbeknownst to Peter. And oh, this is long after he got the lizard thing, but when he's fighting the lizard, he's literally saying things like, "No wonder your wife left you," and it's like, whoa. And it's like, it's kind of intense just to hear Peter say something that's just foul. But he still ends up saving him. But then you get this, very Spectacular Spider-Man moment where he's taking on all these threats, no quipping, none of that stuff, just straight up, monsters attack. Miles shows up to try to help out MJ, and you get this kind of horror moment where it's like she's walking down this tunnel trying to find Peter, and as soon as she used her stun gun to try to, wake him up, the thing sees her as a threat because it's like hurt the host in a way, and she has to run down like these corridors while avoiding somebody who's got the speed of like an even more enhanced speed of Spider-Man. She just narrowly escapes without being attacked. And it's very kind of like, whoa, wow, this, they can easily make this very like a horror movie. But Miles ends up getting captured by the hunters, which leads Peter on a search for him. And you get a segment where Miles sees, all these cages where the other villains used to be at, and then he gets tricked into this big arena where he's about to fight Martin Lee, and instead of dealing a killing blow, he's lets Martin Lee escape so he can run and tell Spider-Man where to find him, which he does. So now that Peter is done with Kraven, Miles shows up, and you get like a fight. It's very Civil War like almost, where Miles takes down Peter, and thanks to ringing that big bell that Kraven stole in order to get that suit off of him and put it in a container so that way they can find finally go and destroy it with Curt Connors. Uh, when eventually he tries to deliver to Connors, Harry's there. He tosses with Peter when Peter's trying to tell him that you gotta destroy this thing because it's like it's something evil about this thing, and the case breaks open. It lashes back onto Harry, turns him into Venom. He knocks out Peter, and then you get a cool setting where you get to play as Venom, which kind of reminds me of Ultimate Spider-Man when you're playing Venom there. You just bum rushing a bunch of people, and instead of typically crawling the wall like you would with Peter or Miles, he just claws the surface and just like an animal is just crawling, like just like scaling the entire surface all together, like a leaping, like a lion can dig into the walls of a building and just just aggressively climb to chase his prey. It'd be something like that, and just like tear ass in these group of people. It's a shame you only get a short segment with this, but it's Venom who ultimately kills Kraven by biting his head off, and it's like something we should have seen in the Venom films, but this game managed to do what we wanted to see in the Venom films. Actually see him bite off a head, there's blood, so it's like, and none of that black gooey PG-13-ness death. This is like, no, he bit off somebody's head. That's what we want to see with Venom, because he eats brains, because it has like a same chemical that you might find in chocolate. There's brains in chocolate that the symbiotes feed off of, because it has the same some kind of chemical component inside. They share between the two. But it's very dope. And a lot of people wish they can have like a very longer segment, or at least like a separate piece where you just play as Venom like you would have in the Ultimate Spider-Man game, based off the Ultimate Universe versions of those characters. So now the symbiote is getting this rock, which is part of this hive mind, where it leads to obviously the god of the symbiotes, Null, with the spiral thing. That's his symbol, and he wants to turn the world into another symbiote planet, essentially. And everybody's getting like a symbiote. Even Mary Jane gets a symbiote, and she is screamed for a minute until Peter manages to rescue her. And the voice acting between these two are so good, where like is Mary Jane saying what she deeply thinks but always kept to herself, because she doesn't want to hurt Peter, and she knows what he's trying to do realistically and what is important. But she the symbiote heightens the selfishness and anger side of you. So she's saying all this stuff. I have to put everything aside because you couldn't keep a job. It was like, oh God, it's intense. And they fighting literally in front of May's house. We're having this fight and arguments and everything like that. But she managed to fight through it and get that symbiote off of her. But so now Peter and Miles have to deal with Venom and preventing any more people from turning to symbiotes. Oh, and like you get moments with the Danica cast, which I personally feel like you get a segment where you play as Miles' girlfriend Haley. I don't think it's really needed, but I think it's kind of cool. You get like a POV of somebody who is deaf, which is fine and all, but it's like another whole force kind of. It feels kind of heavy, almost heavy-handed, but it does feel a little bit forced. If you ask my personal opinion, honestly, it's like if they didn't add it, would you miss anything? You say you might say it's cool because they did it, and you probably seem like you don't want to seem possibly like an ass, because it's like, why do we have it? It's a way to say it without sounding like an ass, but I think it's cool. But also at the same time, I think like you didn't really need to throw that in there. It didn't really add anything. unless you possibly maybe setting up something like Daredevil, where you it'd be kind of awesome if you make a Daredevil game and you seen the world through Daredevil's blind eyes, where it's kind of like the movie where it's like everything's almost like on fire and you only see like kind of echolocations of certain spots. I don't know, you can do something with that. But I don't know. I don't think you really need that Haley segment at all. And I also think that the Danica cast, because she's very Mary Jane like, and given these two are reporter type ladies, I think it'd be like ideal to have a Mary Jane type for Miles, which would be Danica, because he's such like a Spider-Man stan. More so with like the newer, but she likes the OG too. But I was like, yeah, that's like, and I kind of want to ship those two together more so than Haley, even though I like Haley fine. I'm not sure what you guys think, but I just like Danica cast and I like her energy. So now Miles and Peter has to stop, Venom, who's enhancing Harry's, twisting his dreams of healing the world. And so they gotta get that rock back and destroy it. And then get that Venom suit off of Harry, which is, Venom is voiced by the Candyman himself, Tony Cox? Not Tony Cox. What's his name? Um, Tony Todd. I keep on Tony Cox. This is a different actor. Tony Todd, who voices Venom here. He does an incredible job. Would it be all too bad? I kind of wish it was like Tom Hardy, maybe, but but Tony Todd is an incredible actor in his own right. So while thanks to Martin Lee, while trying to deal with this symbiote outbreak, it'd be cool for well, I was about to say it'd be cool if we would have saw like Danica, because I remember we saw one time in the Miles game and like physically, but but if not, I kind of want to see Danica in like a physical presence, because it would add so much to the heaviness of the situation if we see Danica again attacked by these symbiotes and turn into one herself or something like that. And Miles had to save her. Well, oh yeah. Thanks to Martin Lee and Miles teaming up to save Peter, because they still got traces of the symbiote, pieces inside of him. So because of Lee's powers, kind of counteracting the symbiote's influence, they go inside Peter's head. See, he's still dealing with the fact that he lost his aunt. Now, he hasn't really taking the time to talk with anybody about it. He still kept that to himself while relieving himself of that, burden. Cause he still blames himself. You kind of expect it to be Ben Parker's death that he's still dealing with, and is still latching onto that. But no, it was latching on to Aunt May. So it's thanks to Lee and Miles who pull him out of that. But in effect, it causes Lee to lose his powers, but it, tapped into the small traces of the symbiote inside Peter, where it now is give him the anti-venom abilities, which is not taking over his mind, and it's poison to symbiotes. So it gives him added powers, which is fine, because while you had the symbiote suit previously, you actually can use a lot of the whipping effects or morphing effects of the symbiote suit, but now you can do that but with anti-venom. And you see a cool moment with Martin Lee, and a cool moment with Martin Lee turning himself into the police, but also with Miles, where I think it's kind of fair, where it's like Miles is telling him straight up, like, oh, it's cool. It's like, there's a couple of villains that knows who Peter Parker is, but both chose not to tell anybody, but one actually understand the importance of, like, Lee understand the importance of Spider-Man and the wrongs that he's done. And Miles tells him straight up, like, I won't forgive you, but I'm not going to hold on to this hurt anymore either. So they just end up shaking hands and just like, I was going to leave it. I was going to let it go. I'm not going to forget it. I'm not going to be buddy with you or whatever, but I'm not going to let that be my burden, which is kind of a thing here where each these three main characters have to let go of a hurt that they they hold on to. Like Mary Jane still feel hurt that her book, where she spent all that time in Sikaria in Miles's game with Peter, going over the war that was mentioned in the original game and the Miles game, and she's cataloging all this events and bringing it back home so that she can try to make a difference. But not many people bought it, and she felt like a failure, and like the whole situation with working for Jonah was like a headache. And it's like, and in the end, she ends up choosing to let that go and carve like a new path for herself by end up making a podcast and actually making some real changes and to get the real truth out there and not getting gobbled up by all they didn't actually use the word fake news, but it's kind of hinted at it. But I'm kind of like it, where it's like not gobbled up mess that twists the news to suit whatever purpose it is. The news should be all facts and all this ugliness, no sugarcoating. And it's just, the facts are the facts, and you take it as it comes. Which the news should be always like that. And the facts are the facts, and no serving whoever's purpose for anything. It's like wherever the truth is, it is. So, and then like Peter has to let go of his hurt that he's still holding on to, for he feels like it's his fault that he let May die, choosing to stay in New York over saving his aunt. And then Miles letting go of what Lee did to his father and choosing to move on to live his life. So now they come with a plan to Peter's gonna be the distraction for Venom, while Miles deals with the symbiote cronies, and MJ goes inside under this subway tunnel thing, grabs the rock, and using the sonic gun, she's really knocking folks out more efficiently than I do as either Peter or Miles. So they managed to get the rock, take it to the Osborn lab, where they plan on destroying the rock. Venom shows up while Peter and Miles deals with him. They manage to destroy the rock and get the symbiote off of Harry, but he's seemingly dying. But thanks to Miles using his electricity powers, he kind of jumpstarts the heart. But now he's comatose. He still has brain activity, but now he's comatose again, which infuriates Norman. And now it's obviously like he's, you know, got something bedridden. And he's calling up his lab, get the G formula ready. Obviously, setting up Green Goblin, which I'm shocked that they didn't do that already when Peter was like young and, you know, in his early years of Spider-Man, there was no Green Goblin. But I can only imagine what in something like Spider-Man Green Goblin would look like. Gotta be something akin to what the Green Goblin we got in No Way Home. So now Peter is kind of like, you know, some people say he's, you know, planning on his early retirement, semi-retired at this point. I think maybe he's more akin to like taking a bit of vacation in a way, at least a bit of a break, while he's working on, you know, continuing on with the Emily May Foundation, like a startup, which I think like don't like the Osborns have more of a right to that than he does. It's kind of weird when Norman wouldn't say anything, but whatever. So he's starting up the whole entire thing from the ground up, and they still got a mortgage. They're keeping May's house, but they got like a somebody pointed out like a $40,000 mortgage and stuff like that. But it's like they're starting like a podcast, and the other's starting up like a company, which I assume is going to lead into Parker Industries, because like Parker Industries being the CEO, he can come and go as he freaking please for the most part, and say like, oh, Peter Parker is my bodyguard, and I send him out to like deal with threats. I can, you know, come and go without making stupid excuses, and people will not call me on it. And I think that's ideal, because he's also smart, and he should be up there, not as smart as like Reed Richards or Tony Stark, but you know, he should be close to that. And so it would make sense that evolution wise, it makes sense for him to run his own company. He can. The game ends with Miles pretty much taking up the bulk of the work, but Peter's not too far behind if Miles ever need him. And that's where the game ends with Norman going to Doc Ock's cell and asking for help to take down the Spider-Man. Like, you know who he is, don't you? And of course, Doc Ock's not saying anything because he still doesn't like Norman. But obviously, Doc Ock is planning a massive endgame for the Spider-Man. And who knows what that'll entail, because most of, well, I would say most of, at least like a few, there's like a handful of Peter's Rose Gallery that's off the table now. Martin Lee and Mysterio are reformed, and Tombstone are reformed. Vulture, Electro, and Scorpion are dead. Don't know about the Rhino. Sandman should be reformed too, so he should be kind of off the table because he doesn't want to be Sandman no more. He wants to make his daughter proud, unless he's forced to do it because Doc Ock probably threatened his daughter or something like that as a possibility. Yeah, so I don't know. You gotta like dig a little deep into who you gonna bring in, because obviously you're probably gonna need like a larger team in order to deal with both of these Spider-Man. And it would be cool to actually get some superhero cameos physically involved with the Spider-Man in order to help deal with the final game. Of course, you expect Black Cat to help with the Spider-Man and dealing with these possible threats. And of course, I don't know. Who knows? We'll ever have Venom or Carnage involved into this other game. But who knows? It's going to be like the Arkham Knight for Spider-Man. And it should be freaking massive. But yeah, that was pretty much a spoiler review of Spider-Man 2. 9.5 out of 10. Very good. Very excellent. Despite the little nitpicks that I have, and that's what they are. They pretty much nitpicks at this point. But all in all, yeah, pretty darn good game. The only other, because not Genshin Impact, but Baldur's Gate I heard is very good. I haven't played it, not really got into Baldur's Gate like that. But Baldur's Gate and Resident Evil 4 Remake is probably the only two games that we all know of that might give Spider-Man 2 a run for his money in terms of Game of the Year, which I'm looking forward to. There's been a lot of cool games that came out this year alone, and I want to see what's going to be going on in the Game Awards show. Hopefully there's no weird kid popping up out of the freaking blue just to show you some weird protests about Clinton or whatever going on. I'm not sure how that keeps happening with security at the helm or something, because I don't care, especially after the Will slap situation a year ago. I want a freaking, like, I don't care if you're a teenager or you're a full-grown 50-year-old adult. Somebody, I don't care how embarrassing it might look, somebody should have security at the ready to tackle anybody on that stage in case they, if you're not supposed to be up there, you get tackled to the freaking ground. I don't even care. And I'll laugh in your doggone face. I don't care how embarrassing it is or cringeworthy it is. If you're not supposed to be on that stage, you should be tackled to the ground. I understand they don't want to get threatened in lawsuits, but I doubt that's ever be like a worry to them or the company, whoever's running the whole award shows. But they should have policy in place where, because you don't know who these people are and what they might have on them, so you got to protect the people that are on stage from any possible threats. I don't care how minor. Just like how you saw Dave Chappelle, somebody bum rushed the stage, try to tackle him to the ground, and that kid got his ass stomped into. That should, not similar, but still get tackled to the ground and hauled off stage. Because that is just like, that shouldn't keep happening. And hopefully it doesn't happen again. But anyway, that is my thoughts on Spider-Man 2. I'm looking forward to see what we're going to get with Wolverine. But leave a comment below. Let me know what you think of the game. What others Marvel character you kind of wish Insomniac will tackle next, because obviously they're going to be wrapping up Spider-Man franchise with a third and final one. Well, this will be technically the third one, but you know what I mean, with the final Spider-Man game, which more than likely won't come until the next console release, more than likely, because it's going to take quite a bit of while. But yeah, let me know, and I will see you guys in a few minutes while I give my overall thoughts on Loki Season 2. See you then.